What about the songs that have been lifted, like Heart as the first single, as a matter of fact? Was that a song that you sort of designated all the way along should be the lead single?
In the back of everyone's head, it was. It was actually the song we spent most time on. The song actually had 3 different producers on it, and including me and Nelly, who's in my band, doing some pre-production before taking it to Frank, who, because Lee worked on it beforehand, was almost right, and it was just kind of getting that balance there. And I think when you work on something so much, everyone loses perspective, and it's kind of like, ugh. But then working with Frank, and I hadn't worked with him before, we just kind of flipped the song onto its back and just sort of went back to the sentiment and the root of where the song is, in it being a kind of like an exploratory march, I suppose, like through the verses, and then like quite a powerful speech to the chorus, and being unhappy that we get sold all these sort of lies, and that no one actually looks deeper with anything else to kind of figure out that there's more to anything that meets the eye.
It's one of those songs that, when it comes on the radio, for instance, it does make you listen.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm a great, like they're my songs, so I can't listen to it and hear them in a different way. So I'd be like, they should be turned up. But, I don't know if I could sing that better.
Mm. But it's interesting when I listen to an album and then going back and looking at the songs that have been the singles off this one, Birds of Prey, for instance. All the right tracks have been chosen, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think it was kind of obvious when we finished the record what those tracks were going to be. It was just in what order, and then that kind of naturally happened because we sent out a sampler of the record and we kind of got some really different opinions back, but the general consensus was like Heart first, and then Thump, and then Birds, and then see if we lift the 4th single off the record, but I'll keep it a secret just in case we do.
The Sky is Falling?
I hope to release that as a single. It's hard to release a song like that as a single in this country, but I think it should be a single.
What makes it so difficult to release it here?
Because it's long. It's not 3.5 minutes, and it's got no actual live drums in it. But I think it's, the reason why I put it as the first track on the record is, for me, it's where probably the heart of the record lives. It lies there, and then kind of grows from that point out in its different ways. But it's my favourite track.
What was it like growing up, Bertie Blackman? Because you don't have a very common background, do you? Your father was a very, very famous painter.
Yes, and my mother is also a painter. My grandmother's a poet. I had an interesting childhood and upbringing, and still an interesting family life, like growing up with someone like my father, who ends up being someone more like a mentor and a really interesting person to start your life with, like from the beginning of being really little. There's some of the most valuable moments of my life, the moments of, being around him and seeing him going through all the movements that he went through as an artist, and from a young and innocent perspective, and from like, his kid going, he's going through all this stuff, and he's doing so well, and he's really happy, and like, through that movement of everything, it was certainly an educational insight into the natural ups and downs of being an artist, probably thus giving me slightly more tougher skin to kind of keep pushing through and believing in what I wanted to achieve.
And an insight into this industry, I guess, because it's all arts, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it crosses, it all crosses its corners. So,
were you familiar that the family was different than the average family when you were growing up?
A little bit. Not until I was like in my late, like sort of mid-teens and almost to late teens, I didn't actually realize that I had such a different upbringing until I kind of spent a few more holidays at my friends' houses and stuff like that. Though usually my friends were friends of, kids of friends of the family, so it was an open kind of, they were also quite eccentric in their own kind of ways. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't until later, and especially when starting to tour around Australia, like a little thing with my guitar on my back, and getting to see like really different kinds of families, like, like in rural Australia and in the small towns and travelling in between capital cities, you find that there is a great expanse rather than this tiny kind of very culturally rich and literally, an intellectually kind of sort of highly developed bunch of artists and group that I'm luckily got to be a part of for a little while. And then kind of going out into families where, all the women were in the kitchen, like making dinner, and the guys were out the back drinking their tinnies, and, went to church and stuff like that. And I've never even set foot in a church, so it was all very kind of fascinating and interesting for me. But yeah, I did realise that I definitely had a very different upbringing from other kids.